All right. Hi, everybody. This is Julia Zasso with Less Annoying CRM. Many of you know me from previous webinars. Um, I am just going to give us a brief introduction here. As you know, today's webinar is going to be all about PieSync, a contact syncing application that integrates with Less Annoying CRM so that you can get all of your contacts from another system into the CRM and vice versa. I know that a lot of you are going to have questions about how PieSync works, so I just want to go over how you can ask those questions during the webinar. I, Julia Zazo with Less Annoying CRM, am going to be monitoring the chat and the questions area on the app the whole time. So you'll see on the right-hand side of your page that there's going to be a chat area. It's where a lot of us are talking right now. You can post some questions there, but my only concern is they might get lost in the scroll. So I'd highly recommend if you have a question, you want me or our PieSync expert on the webinar today to ask it or to answer it, to go ahead and put it in that questions tab in the right-hand area. You can also upvote questions that you have as well. So if you see that somebody else asked a question and you have that question too, you can go ahead and click that upvote button. All right, and to give us a little introduction today on the webinar, we're joined here today by Sarah Mouton. She's the Partner Success Manager at PieSync. And she is going to tell us all about how PieSync works and show us, the application, as well as answer any questions that you have about that integration. You might have seen another person on this webinar originally, Franz from PieSync. He's just out sick this morning, which is why we're joined only by Sarah today. So I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Sarah. And I will turn off my screen sharing there. But Sarah, feel free to turn on your mic, turn on your screen sharing, and we'll show everybody how PieSync works.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for the introduction, Julia. Very nice. Let me see how I can share my screen and the presentation. I hope that this is working for everybody. So welcome to this webinar from Less Annoying CRM and PieSync together. We're going to talk about the partnership today. PieSync is an integration software, and that's already a big word, integration. It could be a hollow word, right? What does it mean? It means everything, it means nothing. I want to make this a webinar that is going to be to the point, with some very practical examples of how PieSync can be put to good use. I'll also be candid and giving some examples of when it might not be such a good idea to use PieSync. So who am I? As mentioned, my name is Sarah Mouton, and I'm the Partner Success Manager here at PieSync. And I'm replacing Franz, who's ill, but we're like very close colleagues, so we've been working on this webinar together, so that's a good thing. So what is PieSync? PieSync is a particular type of synchronization software. PieSync is acting on the contacts that you have stored in Less Annoying CRM. It's going to be new to most of the people using Less Annoying CRM. It's a modern syncing technology to deliver smarter, more accurate data to your software applications. So two-way synchronization. What does that mean? That means that we're going to be looking at it from both angles. How can your Less Annoying CRM database fuel other software? And how can other software fuel your Less Annoying CRM? So PieSync exists because of a reason. Because what's going on? What is going on? It's possible you might have already seen these charts. The Chief Marketing Technology blog releases them every year and they're updated. So as you see, they are getting more and more complicated. It's been evolving in this latest version to this point where you can't actually even read it anymore. And what is on the chart? Well, it essentially lists all kind of available online software in the market today. Crazy, right? If you look at that. It's not just the number of brands that has been growing like crazy, but it's also the number of categories. Now, CRM was one of the first. right? It's been there since the beginning. It's your main app, right? But now we've got chatbots, we got mobile marketing, we got staffing software, project management software. It's going crazy, right? And it's not a bad thing to have choices and diversity. If you're watching this webinar, that means you have selected or are considering Less Annoying CRM, because it may empower your business in a way that other platforms can't. That being said, as much time is spent in Less Annoying CRM, it's probably not the only platform you're active on and spending money on. Communication takes place maybe in Outlook, or perhaps in the G Suite on your Google accounts. That's what makes your smartphone run. Maybe you use calendar syncing, contact address books, etc. But where does your core customer database come from? Migrating from CRMs like maybe Salesforce? Are you using different systems in tandem, like QuickBooks? Do you have a voice over IP telephone system in place? Maybe you're using RingCentral or AirCall, or maybe for your outgoing calls, you're using a built-in dialers in prospecting platforms like SalesLoft. What do you use to send newsletters? Maybe Mailchimp? You see, there's already a lot of available apps that you might be using. And having data silos is inevitable. Different apps do different things in different ways. But the very one thing that will ultimately be the same in each of these apps is going to be your customer database. And in an ideal world, you hold just one single source of truth. But in reality, the customer database is very much siloed. So there might be a difference in the different apps on how your customers are managed, right? A while back, we had a customer who has been around and he's seen the changes on the internet, and he asked us a question. Wasn't the cloud supposed to make things easier? We all been there, right? All these apps and all these options. And to a large extent, Less Annoying CRM already has made things easier by providing a built-in Google sync, a Mailchimp sync, and these options. But that's still only a certain selection of apps. So what are other ways of integrating out there? When it comes to actually syncing data to any other app, keeping contact data identical in several apps at the same time, traditional integrations might not be ideal. Some of the integrations only work with a one-way sync, meaning that it's trigger-based. It's a push. If something happens in this app, then it should be pushed to another app. So it's the one way that the data goes and it doesn't go back. It's not two ways. Another option is the trigger-based or zaps, where if something happens in this app, then it should be pushed to the other app. It's a one-time event that needs to translate into a contact creation, but it doesn't update when you make any changes on that contact later on. So it's just creating a contact. Then there are some syncing that happen maybe only at night, and you're working constantly in your apps, so you want them to be spot on and correct the whole time. There's also the option, this was the example of the zaps that you could use for the one way. Then there's the irregular intervals, where maybe it's only at night or maybe even once a week and you don't even know when it's going to happen. But that's not easy if you're using your customer database as your source of working with leads, with customers, billing, whatever, and you don't know if you're using the right information. And then there's also the option to do a manual CSV. Now, I think if you've been around and using tools for a few years, most of the tools we're using that, right? Import your contacts, upload your CSV. But if you have to do it every week, every day, it becomes a hassle, right? And then there's also the last option. If the hassle becomes too big and there is no option, you might approach a third party and ask them to develop something for you, to build the sync just for you. But that limits your freedom and your flexibility to switch to another tool later on because you invested in having this syncing. So each one of these old-fashioned or maybe other options have their limitations. So that's where PieSync comes in. Our main difference with these apps or these syncing ways that I just described is that we focus on contact data and we do it two ways, meaning whenever there is a change in any of your apps, we will update the change in the other apps that you've synced. It's in real time, no need to wait until tomorrow for the update. And it's synchronization, meaning we do the check if anything changed. You don't need to worry about it. It happens in the background. So through PieSync, we create one single contact address book in the cloud to make sure that even if customer data lives in separate tools, like a CRM here, a help desk software there, PieSync will elegantly match and merge it, so it looks at its most complete everywhere, in real time, all the time. And different software tools speak different languages. We all know that, because they do different stuff. They have different APIs. Apps behave differently. For example, in one app, there might be 3 fields, one for name, one for last name, one for middle name. And then when you look in the other app, there's only one field, and it's just full name, right? Well, PieSync makes abstraction of this and does a smart data transformation, so you don't need to worry about that. In the end, PieSync allows you to use what I like to call the best of breed apps. Meaning that maybe the person in charge of marketing wants to use the best marketing automation tool, and finance needs their own set of specialized tools, and sales wants other tools to use. But apps need to be connected intelligently when it comes to contact data. It's only through two-way syncing that you'll have consistent contact data across all your apps. You stop importing and exporting messy CSV files, and you let PieSync seamlessly handle your data. You get a true real-time sync that works all the time and looks at deep changes within the contacts themselves to sync across. To truly get to that 360 degrees view, because you're making your contacts richer than they were before by syncing additional information from different apps. So that's the introduction, but I'm sure you all want to see how the tool looks like. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about Constant Contact. I might mention Mailchimp. I know that there is an integration with Mailchimp for Less Annoying CRM, but we have a few small differences. Then QuickBooks, Outlook, and a small introduction Facebook leads as well. So let me go over to my PieSync account. So PieSync on the left side, you see I can create a new connection. For this webinar, I have created a few connections. And I want to start by showing you the connection that I've created, and I haven't started it fully yet, with Outlook and Less Annoying CRM. So let's dive in. So what happens is I have contacts in Outlook, I have contacts in Less Annoying CRM. I have authorized these two apps. You can see which accounts. These are obviously our demo accounts. And I'm gonna sync two ways. You can see the arrows. There is an option to also select one way if you would want that. Now in these rules, these are the basic rules that are gonna be there whenever you start connecting two apps. And this means we're syncing all to all. But that's where the fun begins, because once you've started and you've added your connections, you can add filters. This is a Boolean query. For example, I can say from my Outlook, I only want to sync contacts that are in a certain folder. For example, VIP. Only those contacts need to be in sync. And when I sync them over to Less Annoying CRM, I might want to add them, and I might want to update the field. I created a custom field in Less Annoying CRM and I titled it VIP. So I might want to add there, yes. This is the way how you can move information from one app to another app with the custom fields. Now, by the rules, I'm telling PieSync which part I want to sync. If I remove these options again, it's again an all-to-all sync. I can also decide I don't want to push or to move sync from Less Annoying CRM to Outlook. I can switch this off or on again, just as I like. So that's the first step. And the very interesting part here is, of course, that you can play with all these categories to set up the filters and to tell PieSync what needs to be synced and where it needs to go in the other app. So this is what we call the rules. Okay. We also have an option to avoid duplicates, meaning that we only sync contacts that have an email address. When there's a conflict change, who needs to win? What do we mean with a conflicting change? Now, let's say in both apps, there is an option to add one phone number. And we found out that in both apps, there is a different phone number. Now, in that case, you need to tell us which app is your source of truth. If both apps have the option to add a second phone number, we will merge it, meaning that we will add the second phone number in both apps. So no need to overwrite or there is no conflict. The conflict will only happen if there is no option to merge and add the information. And then there's the field mapping. The field mapping, this is the default fields that we can find in Outlook and Less Annoying CRM that we already set up that they can talk to each other. And you see that there are fields that have the same name or similar names and that we are matching them. You have the option to add other fields based on extra fields or based on custom fields that you might have created. For example, the VIP one that I was mentioning before. This is to tell us what fields we should check from the group of people that you decided in the rules. Okay, so that's the Outlook one. Once that is done, I can just say start syncing now. And then PieSync will do his magic. Now, the first time you sync, it might take up a little bit of time because we are going to do the check of the whole Outlook database versus the whole Less Annoying CRM database, and then we'll see the match. So we'll just leave this one up and running. And we'll move to the second one that I have prepared for you, which is constant contact with Less Annoying CRM. So I've already created this one today. And let's see, as you can see, there has been 117 new Less Annoying contacts created. There was one updated and 8 new constant contacts and 6 updated constant contacts today. And here, when you scroll down, you can see a few examples. Obviously, it's not all the names, but you can see a few examples. Now, what is interesting here is, let me go to Less Annoying CRM. I'm going to go to the contacts. I'm going to be looking for Deborah Brooks. So on this contact, we found out that, well, we know that she's a sales manager, but we don't know in which company she works. So I'm going to edit this contact. I'm going to add the company. Let's say she's a colleague of mine. She works at PieSync. We save the changes. Now I've done the change in Less Annoying CRM. Now in this case, I'm just going to force a sync. And in constant contact, oh, oops, sorry for that. Let's take a look at Deborah over there. In the constant contact, she didn't have a company name yet. So PieSync, I'm forcing the sync now. It is detecting changes. Now this is something that you shouldn't do, the forced sync, because we're doing it all the time. I'm just doing this for the purpose of our webinar. I hope that this one will open. Yes. Okay, let's see what's happening with Deborah here. Okay. Oh, what happened? Oops. I must have opened the wrong account. Let me check again. Darkwing. 1 second. Sorry for that. I was in the wrong. We have a few test accounts, so that's why I was in the wrong one. So on our dashboard, we already see that there has been an update 2 hours ago. That's when I was adding her function. Now they're doing the check. Okay, let's look for Deborah. You can hear the pop for the questions. I'll look in the questions at the end. There we go. So we can still see that there is no company here. Okay, let's keep this one running and we'll go back to Deborah after the next one I wanted to show you. So my connections. Now I have been showing 2 connections already, the one with Outlook, the one with Less Annoying CRM, but how do you start from scratch? Well, from scratch on the left side, we click on New Connection. And first thing we need to tell PieSync, you can see here we have over 160 different apps. We add one every week. They're on our website as well. So there's a ton of information there. So let's select Less Annoying CRM as my one app that I want to connect. And my other app, I'm going to be looking for QuickBooks. So now that the apps are selected, I need to authorize them. Now in this case, because I have been testing in this account, they are already authorized and I only need to tell PieSync which account I need to choose. So, and then there we go. So there we go. So I've authorized these both accounts. There's the bi-directional syncing, and there you go. These, and again, these rules are all to all. Now, what can I add here as an action is, for example, if in QuickBooks, the contact has open balance, then in Less Annoying CRM, I've updated the field. I've created a custom field that says open balance, and I can add yes. So the information about the bookkeeping information that is in QuickBooks can be exchanged with Less Annoying CRM in the background. You don't have to do it. You don't have to manually exchange that information. You don't have to open both apps and go and switching between apps because PieSync will update those fields for you. And again, we have those custom fields here. And even here you can say, for example, billing address, it only needs to go one way. Then you can still, No, that's not possible to change normally. You can change direction. And again, also you can say, I only want to use this rule, right? So no need for the second rule. And then all you need to do is start syncing or save for later. And you'll be syncing your contacts. So in the end, what you get is all these apps are talking to each other, but your one source of truth or your connecting app, it's like a spider web, right? It's Less Annoying CRM. That's where you're going to be working. That's where you're going to have your information, but it will get information from Constant Contact, from Outlook, from QuickBooks, and vice versa. It will exchange information with these other apps. Another one that you could set up is an example of a one-way sync. Now, unfortunately, I cannot show this one fully because I don't have a Facebook leads account. So we recently have added I think two apps that are one-way. One is Facebook leads, the other one is Eventbrite for events. So in this case, we choose again our Less Annoying CRM account, and you would authorize your Facebook leads, which I don't have, for your ads. Now in this case, it is a one-way because Facebook leads cannot be updated with information from Less Annoying CRM. So it is information from Facebook leads that will be synced to Less Annoying CRM. But then again, because Less Annoying CRM is connected to your Outlook, to your QuickBooks, to all the other ones, that information will be updated in those other apps as well. Unless you don't want it, and then you restrict it. You can say rule if source is or has a tag Facebook leads, don't sync it, don't share it with other apps. Now let's take a look at Deborah, how she's doing, and the Constant Contact. Is still looking at the changes. That's a bit slow. Let's see if Deborah is already a PieSync. No, not yet. So we'll leave that one running in the back. Now, I also mentioned that I wanted to talk a little bit about Mailchimp. I know that there is a native integration with Mailchimp and Less Annoying CRM, but I've, well, together with Frans, with my colleague, we analyzed a little bit what could be possible differences. And we noticed three little differences. When you use the Less Annoying CRM integration with Mailchimp, you are not able to sync custom fields, which in the case of PieSync is possible. So let's authorize this so I can show you. It is true that by default, the fields that Mailchimp opens up for other apps are quite limited, but with PieSync, we have the option to add more fields. So like you can see, the list of default fields is much smaller than the one we saw with QuickBooks or with Outlook, but you can add field mappings, meaning that all the other fields from Mailchimp can also be synced to Less Annoying CRM. And you can create like I created one, who did you talk to? Because this is one that is also in Mailchimp. So this is an extra option that is not in the native integration. The other change is that if there happens a change in the Mailchimp on the contact, we do change it in Less Annoying CRM because we have the conflict handling and the avoiding of duplicates. So no need to worry there. We got that covered. And what we also do, and what a lot of integrations don't have, is when you start syncing with PieSync, we take into account the contacts that are already in Mailchimp. So historical data about the contacts will be synced with Less Annoying CRM. Whereas the Mailchimp integration with Less Annoying CRM is only starting from the moment you set it up. And it's not looking at contacts that have been added in Mailchimp before. This is also a big difference that we see with, for example, Zapier or trigger-based syncing, that they start to work the moment you create them, but they don't take into account contacts that were in there before. Okay, so those are like three main differences that exist. Now, I'm really curious about Deborah because she's taking a while to update. So let's see. Now, this should be done soon. It's a bit strange that it's taking so long. Sorry for that. No company yet. Okay, so we'll leave this one in the back. So you can always in PieSync go to your connections and see what have we set up, which one is up and running, how many contacts do I have in sync. I want to pause this one, I want to stop this one. Or you can go to the settings, the ones that you have set up but haven't started syncing yet, you can always start them here with the syncing. Maybe first we can take a look at some questions that you might have, and then we can look at Deborah because she's taking way too long. Maybe just before we look at the questions, I want to mention that we also have live support chat on our website. You can reach us via email, and we also have a very good help center with videos and articles on how to set up your syncs.